with Wesley Nguyen, who just got the top for his Atlanta Regional for the World Championship qualifier for 2019, and let's get into it.
Yeah, I played Pure Sky Strikers at the event. I went 6-1-1. I bubbled at 9th place. We couldn't get there, but it happens. Let's see, what's this? This list is Jeff Jones' list, basically. I pretty much just copied his list almost completely, and it worked like a charm. So let's just get into it. 3 Ray, pretty standard. Some people play 2, but 3's, I found 3's correct. 3's good. 3 Ash, 3 Ogre, and the Gamma package. So these are really good. Ghost Ogre got a lot better because Summon Sorcerers is now legal. Summon Sorcerers made Goki's way better, but Ghost Ogre kind of basically negates the card, so this is really good. Pure Sky Strikers are on the rise, while Trickstar Sky Strikers are sort of going down, at least in popularity, and that's enough to make Ghost Ogre even better because it's good at outing multi-roll as well. As far as Gamma, I actually really didn't like this card for a long time because I found it to be a little bricky, and it's highly dependent on whether or not you go first or second. But having played it a bit more, I found that I figured out how to play it better, and I figured out when to side it out. And the card's great. If you resolve this on your own turn, you win because you get to make a free Omega, assuming you play it. But going game 2 and game 3, depending on if you're going first or second, I would side them out. I sided them out a lot if I knew I was going to go first because the way this deck plays, the play pattern, they're not really going to try to disrupt your plays, unless you have a monster on board. They're going to wait to Shizuku or Kagari, so Gamma's kind of dead. I didn't own Impermanence, and everybody's playing Impermanence now. It's correct to play Impermanence. This is not a terrible substitute though. They play about the same. Sometimes Effect Veiler's a little bit better because it's a spellcaster for Secret Village. It's a monster that you can link away with. If you draw it off of Shared Ride while having other cards like already on the field like monsters, you can still play it, whereas Impermanence you can't. Really random stuff. For the most part, Impermanence is better, but I don't have them, so that's fine. 3 Engage, really good. 3 Widow Anchor, never less than 3. 3 Hornet Drones, probably going to go to 1. It's really good. Very standard. 2 Airspace. I found this card to be great, and for a while I wasn't playing the Terraformings. I think it's correct to play Terraforming. 2 to 3 is debatable. I thought about cutting these to play MST because I was really afraid of Midfield Breaker, but I think you just want more ways to put cards in the graveyard. Since now we're not playing Foolish Burial Goods anymore and we're not playing Pot of Desires, the reason to not play those is because they're a little bricky. You have Piete to do what Foolish Goods does, so you don't really need it. Desires, getting the +1 is always sweet, but the deck doesn't really need +1s because it has a lot of +1s. On top of that, it forces you to play, to adjust your build and play stuff like second Afterburners just so that you don't banish it. On top of that, it just opens up more space to put in cards if you don't play the Desires. Two multi-roll. Thought about playing 3, but it's alright. 2 is great. Not really much else to say with it. If you resolve multi-roll in the mirror, then you're highly favored. And this card is a staple at this point. At least 2. 1 Jamming Waves, 1 Afterburners, standard. I'm actually really happy about the Jamming Waves because at a regional, you don't really know if you're going to play against Rogue or not, and you don't really know when you need to out a Phoenix Goblin board. So having this, being able to hit cards without targeting it is really nice, and it's basically an Afterburners. That's why it's okay not to play 2 Afterburners, because this card is functionally a second Afterburners if you can get the second proc off. Shark Cannon, amazing card. All weekend I was really happy with this going against 60 card Hero Goki, going against regular Goki. I was happy with this as well. It sort of dodges midfield breaker, but you know, if midfield breaker's on field, you're probably losing. It's amazing in the mirror as well because you can take their Kagari, you can take their Shizuku, you can link them away, you can banish their Ray. It makes a lot more sense this meta to play one now. Hercules base, standard recyclable card. Either play it main deck or side deck. Perfect grind card. Upstart, Rhoda, pretty standard. You can honestly cut them if you really need space, but they're stable. They're great generic cards.
I noticed that you didn't play any Call by the Grave. Is there any specific reason why you didn't want to play those?
I was afraid of Droll, and I was afraid of like a lot of hand traps and stuff. So yeah, I was thinking about playing it, but I saw Jeff Jones' list. He didn't play it. I gave it a try, and I was testing it 2 days before the event, and we were just testing like 2 days straight. And honestly,
You could ask him too.
I just didn't feel like I really needed it as much because Droll is not as big of a part of the format anymore. I don't really care about any of the other hand traps. The only one that like really scares me is maybe Ghost Ogre and probably Gamma, but you can't really call by the grave with Gamma. It's a flex slot though. I've seen people play it in place of like Mind Crush, for example. And by the way, that's the last 3 cards of the deck is 3 Mind Crush. Good generic. Still useful in a heavily searched meta. It's fine. It's a flex slot though. You can honestly play without them.
All right, cool. One thing to question, you ran 3 Widow Anchors, correct?
Yeah.
How come most other builds would run normally 1 or just 2 Widow Anchors?
Okay. A lot of pure Sky Striker lists want to play 3. It's been pretty standard throughout. The thing is, I find myself setting 2 or 3 off of multi-roll really quickly, and it's a little greedy on resources. Like, if you banish it, you lose it for good. But at the same time, some of these early game plays, you can't really afford to just get blown out like turn 1. So if you search it off of Engage, set it, and then end phase Shizuku, search for Widow Anchor, activate Widow Anchor, target Shizuku, then set it off of multi-roll, that's already 2. And you're probably going to burn both of them next turn because either you burn them or they force you to activate or break them. And you really want the third one so that you can continue extending your plays. If you're playing like a more hybrid build, like Alistair builds, Invocation, all that stuff, Trickstar, then it's okay to cut it down to just 1 or 2 because you don't always have 3 in the graveyard to activate, and then on top of that, you're relying on the other half of the engine to carry the weight. Whereas this deck, you don't have anything else except for Engage and Widow Anchor, and without those 2 cards, like the deck honestly probably wouldn't be nearly as good. So you need the disruptive elements. Okay. You always want to see it.
All right, gotcha.
Okay. 1 Omega, never really resolved this in regional tournament. Most people were good enough not to try to trigger Gamma, so it was kind of useless, but I think it's right to play 1. 3 Kagari, 3 Shizuku, 2 Hayate. Hayate is amazing. It's basically the Nightmare Shark / Cowboy. I've won in time a lot with these 2 cards. It's also the starter pieces. Like this into Engage, into Kagari to add back Engage is clutch. Getting the 3rd card off is amazing. It's a really good card. Nightmare Phoenix, standard. I was not running Cerberus. His build played Cerberus. I didn't. I thought that Topologic Bomber was correct, so I chose to play Bomber instead of Cerberus. And this should be a Trisbana. I was borrowing a Trisbana this weekend, but I don't have it with me anymore. Nightmare Unicorn. It's fine. I didn't actually summon it at the regional, but it's a good card still. In Girsu, same thing. I didn't summon it at the regional, but it was fine. At local, sometimes I'll need it, and in general, I think it's still a good like flex card. The last card is not actually Deco Talker. It's supposed to be a Boral Sword. I was borrowing the Boral Sword this weekend. I actually didn't summon it that often. I found it a little bit too difficult to summon, but there are ways to do it. I didn't really understand how to do it properly at the tournament. It was honestly hella resource intensive. By the time that you can summon Boral Sword, you're probably already winning, and you can end on a Topologic. It's about just as good. The only thing that Boral Sword does offer that is it closes out the game full stop. Like there's no potential for your opponent to draw into an out if you already won the game. The quick way to do like a Boral Sword, I guess, is like, I don't know, it's mostly based on what your opponent can do, but roughly, if you get like 4-card combo, if this is like Array, or you can link these away into like a Phoenix or something, and then it'd help a lot if you can get a link 2 from your opponent's graveyard or your opponent's field, but you don't actually need it. But it's basically like a 4 or 5-card combo, and you'll have to resolve like Area 0, Ray, Area 0, multi-roll, pop this, get Ray on board. It's a hodgepodge combo. It's really not that consistent. But if you can get Boral Sword out, it's great. I might cut Boral Sword in the future, but it's fine. Like, I just didn't summon it that often at the regional. Let's go to side deck. 3 Reaper. Absolutely happy with this card. It was good at the mirror. It's also good against Goki. I played Firewall as the Cherry's target for that. My reasoning is hitting the Assault is not bad, but there's combos that have been able, like I've seen combos, the full U-Link board without Assault. Like my testing group was practicing where they would get Cherries mid-combo and they just still go through it. And they plowed through like games easily without it. So hitting Firewall is almost always better. On top of that, in order to get Firewall out, most people go into Summon Sorceress and then Firewall. So on Summon Sorceress, you can also Ghost Ogre that card, and it's unlikely that they can extend their plays in any meaningful manner as well. So these are fine. I was really happy with them. Again, there's always a target in Phoenix, Unicorn, and Kagari, like all tournament long. So it was never really dead. This going first, and basically only going first, and only really against Sky Strikers. Yeah, I think you can play this against Goki too, but a lot of times I don't feel like this would be enough. I don't think you really need them, but it's okay against Goki too. 3 Mind Control. I figured if I ever had to go second, I would side out the Shared Ride, side in the Mind Control, and I can take like their Mechaba, I can take their Kagari, their Shizuku, and just link away and make their Rays dead.
Okay.
3 Heavy Storm Duster. I think Twin Twister is probably correct because you can multi-roll, make your Twin Twisters like unchainable or uncounterable, I guess, and then hit like Altergeist or something. They can't respond at all. It's also a lot better going second because you can pop their field, like because you can play them on your same turn that you draw them, and then just like attack the game or something. But Heavy Storm Duster wasn't too bad. In one of the matchups, I had to play against Secret Village and Gozen match, and I wouldn't have been able to resolve Twin Twister, so Heavy Storm Duster. It ended up working out. I did not draw into these at all, but I played against several graveyard decks that made me happy to deal with this. I didn't play against like ABC or anything, but it would have been good there. I did play against Goki, it was good there. I did play against Vendred, it was good. It would be good there too. I didn't draw it, but in testing it was amazing. Going over matchups, round 1 I played against Hero Goki. Round 2 I played against what was it? Vendred. Round 3 was against and the Hero Goku was 60 card. He ended up making top 4, so shout outs to him. Round 3 was Dark Magician. Round 4 was Pure Sky Striker. I lost to that. Or I drew against that, sorry. Round 5 was Pure Sky Striker. Round 6 was Standard Goki. I think the ranked rebuild. Round 7 was third Pure Sky Striker deck. And then round 8 was against Cyber Dragons. He's actually a local at my store, and he was shout outs to him too. Okay, so shout outs to my team, the G family. They're always really cool. They're always fun to hang out with and test with. Shout outs to all the guys at Kapow for play testing with me and just having a place to play. Shout outs to Dabber's Card Store. Shout outs to the players that helped me play test a Goki matchup. Jafar for making 5th. Casey for always giving me good test games, and Ashrak, especially Ashrak, because he sat down with me and play tested the hell out of Goki. And I didn't play against like 9 Goki matchups or anything, but 2 was enough. It gave me a lot of insight on how to play it properly, and I was very thankful for him. Shout outs to G for making top 8. We were next to each other the last 2 rounds, and we knew it was going to come down to between one of us, and he ended up getting the better tiebreaker, so shout outs to him, first top 8. And mega shout outs to Patrick. Sorry, round 8, I had to beat him. He was playing for his top 32, I was playing for my first top 8, and I ended up having to beat him out. It sucked because he got 40th. It would have been his first invite. He got 40th, and I got 9th. So it was the worst timeline. Like, we both didn't get what we wanted. So shout outs to him. Sorry, and thank you for letting me borrow your Boral Sword Dragon. So yeah, it was a fun tournament.
Awesome. We'll be hoping to see you at the World Championship qualifier next year at wherever the event is going to be.
See ya.
Bye.